Good morning, students. Today we're going to take a look at some word choice practice. You have a word choice unit coming up, and the goal of this unit is to identify words that are specific and meaningful in their context. So we have 3 levels of learning here. The first one is just choosing between 2 words. The next one is choosing between 4 words. And the last one is identifying 2 words that most mean the opposite. Okay, so this is a little bit of antonym practice, all right? So why are we doing this? We're doing this in order to help you choose and identify more meaningful words in a sentence and understand that those words mean more than one thing, okay? So we will use this first one as an example. So here we have Stacy and David blank back and forth for hours until someone finally told them to get a room. All right, so what does this mean, right? Well, we have to understand what Stacy and David are doing. Are they arguing or are they bantering, right? Now, this idiom, go get a room, right, is an idiom that basically means that, you two like each other, right? You're not really arguing, you're playing, right? So this idea of them arguing doesn't quite fit, whereas banter, right? Let's look up the definition of banter so that we can see exactly what it says. Should be in here somewhere. Talk or exchange remarks in a good-humored, teasing way, right? The men bantered with the waitresses. Oh, look at that. And there's an example of a guy and a girl bantering back and forth together, okay? So it's a joke, it's a jest, it's a pun. It's not serious, right? Whereas an argument tends to be more serious. So the best word here would be bantered, all right? You see that? Now, this document is going to be linked under this YouTube video, and I want you to attempt to complete it to the best of your ability. I'm going to do number 2 with you right now, so you'll only have to do 3 through the end, okay? So let's look at number 2 again. The worst part about a flood is seeing the blank of water coming towards your home. So now we have to think, torrent, seeing the torrent of water coming towards your home, or wave of water coming towards your home. Both are descriptive words, but which one gives us the most visual, the best descriptive overall sense of what's happening? Okay, the flood of water is rushing towards this house, right? You can see it coming at you. Which one makes the most sense? A torrent of water or a wave of water? If you're not sure what either of those words mean, you should take a second, look it up, and then decide A or B. Okay, so hopefully you made a choice, A or B. All right, one of the things that might help you is actually just looking at maybe some Google images of these words. Okay, so these are some waves, right? Pretty round. Yeah, like if this was coming towards my house, I'd be pretty upset, right? Look up a torrent of water. Okay, so this is giving us a very different picture, isn't it? Right? In fact, if we look carefully, we even see some pictures that involve flooding. All right? Here, torrent of water through this park. Torrent of what? Puerto Rico. There we go. All right. Torrent of water in Puerto Rico after dam fails. Yeah, see that, right? This is why we look at words. So a wave of water, waves can be small, waves can be little, waves can, be done in a crowd with thousands of people outside a football game. But a torrent of water, right? That's something very different. That's fast moving, fast flowing, a lot of water, very dangerous. Okay. So the best one here is torrent. Okay, so at this point, you understand kind of how this works, right? You read the words, come up with the best answer, okay? Take some time now, complete this worksheet, and then come back to the video and finish it out. Okay, so let's take a look at your answers. Number 3, Behind every good book is an author who has lived 1,000 blank lives. Imaginary or made up? Well, made up, seeing as it's a hyphenated word, probably isn't as solid or specific as imaginary. Okay, to picture something in your mind. So, imaginary is the stronger word for number 3. For number 4, the thief blanked into the window without making a sound. So did he crawl into the window or did he creep into the window, right? The thief crawled or crept into the window. I might have just given you a hint there in that crept is the past tense of creep, right? It's to move without making a sound. So if you're moving into a window without making a sound, crept is the best option there. All right, so that's level 1. Level 2, we now have 4 choices. So the word that we choose has to not only be the best word, but also make sense in the context. Some of these words just straight up don't make any sense at all. Number 5, I saw the warriors blank on the battlefield. The ringing of their swords could be heard for hundreds of yards. Fight is the most obvious response. Yes, they're obviously fighting on the battlefield. Are they meeting or arguing? Those wouldn't involve swordplay, hopefully. All right, that's some aggressive negotiations. And then clash, right? The clash of symbols or the clash of swords meeting on the battlefield. That makes the most sense. Number 6, they might be best friends, but Harvey secretly blanked Emily. Okay, so which of these doesn't make sense? Liked, well, that's not really a secret. You're best friends. Of course you like each other, right? Admired, helped. These aren't things you'd have to keep a secret, right? You can tell your best friend that you admire them or that you like something about them. But adored, that's one that you should be aware of, right? So define adored: to love and respect someone deeply. Okay, so yeah, if you're secretly in love with your best friend, that's something you'll want to keep to yourself, right? Number 7, after I met my cousin for the first time and saw how wild he was, I became grateful to my parents for being so blank with me as a kid. Okay, so your cousins are wild, they're crazy, all right? What made them that way, right? For being so tough with me as a kid, maybe. That seems pretty good. For being so lame, it doesn't really work in this context. For being so strict with me as a kid, now that makes a lot of sense. Or being so weak with me as a kid. Okay, so lame and weak are kind of similar. Strict and tough are kind of similar. So which of these would make the most sense, right? So if you picked strict or tough, you're okay. All right, you did a good job picking one of those. Personally, I think strict is a little bit more specific than tough. A lot of things are tough, right? Leather is tough, right? Your muscles are tough. People could be, like resilient. But to be strict has a very specific meaning in this context. This is that you have rules and you can't break them. So strict is the better word because it's more specific. But if you said tough, I get why you said that, okay? Okay, number 8. The best way to make new friends is to smile, listen to others, and be blank in their stories. All right. So we have aware, interested, disinterested, or engaged. Okay, so to be aware in their stories, that word just doesn't make sense. You can throw that right out. Interested or disinterested? Well, if you're disinterested in their stories, you're going to seem really boring, right? That's not a good way to make friends. And then we have interested or engaged. All right, so interested and engaged mean very similar things, but to be interested in something doesn't imply any action, right? So for instance, I am interested in learning metalcraft. I am interested in learning how to forge things out of iron. I think that would be really cool. I've always wanted to do it. I almost did it in college, but in the end, I chose not to do that thing. It was a lot of money. I didn't have the time to set aside for it. So I was interested in it, but I didn't actually do it. Now, to be engaged with something, that means you are doing it. If you're engaged in a task or you're engaged with a person, that means you are actively bound to that thing, right? So if you're engaged in someone's story, that's more than just interested in listening. That's actually offering feedback and saying yes or wow when they say something, right? Engaged is when you are actively listening, okay? So this word is definitely the best, no question. All right, and level 3. This, in my opinion, is the hardest because you have to take 2 words and decide that they're opposite out of these 4. All right, now I gave you some vague categories here. So the first one is emotions: elated, nervous, depressed, and angry. All right, so as I look over these words, elated it means extremely happy. Nervous, okay, like you feel anxious about something. Depressed, obviously sad. And then angry is, angry, needs no introduction. So of these, happy and sad, or elated and depressed, are some of the most different, right? Nervous, angry, right? These don't really, they're not really too separated. Okay, descriptions: enormous, scratchy, long, smooth. Okay, so right off the bat, 2 of those seem pretty similar, right? Scratchy and smooth should immediately jump out to you as opposite. Okay, long, enormous, that's, like both of those could describe a hot dog, right? Okay, descriptions: lanky, stocky, keen, or able-bodied. Okay, so, all right, if you're not sure what some of these words mean, you'll have to have looked them up. But lanky means to have very long limbs, and stocky means to have very short limbs. So these 2 are opposites. And last but not least, number 4, charismatic, boorish, friendly, and polite. Now, if you looked up the definition, you'll know that charismatic means charming and friendly. So charismatic and friendly mean the same thing, right? Boorish. Now, if you look this up, you'll find out that it means to be kind of gross or direct or impolite. So that most obviously means the opposite of polite. It could kind of mean the opposite of friendly, but not really, or charismatic. I'm sorry. You can be boorish and friendly. You can be kind of like this gross, gruff person, right? Picture like a dwarf from fantasy games, right? Gimli from Lord of the Rings. He's a little boorish in that he doesn't have very good manners, but he's a very friendly, approachable guy. So he's charismatic. He's very likable. Okay. That is the end of our practice. Thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for reviewing this. And hopefully you did well. Hopefully you were able to succeed on this. Please, as you continue through these word choice sections, make sure that you're looking words up. Make sure that you're Googling them. Make sure that you're actually reading very carefully the definitions of these words, because that will help you a lot. All right, thank you, and I'll see you next time.